Welcome back, everyone. I am excited for today. Our second guest today is Dave Combs. Dave is a songwriter, entrepreneur, successful business executive, and best-selling author. Over the 40 plus years, he has written over 120 songs and created 15 albums of soothing, relaxing instrumental piano music, including the popular standard Rachel's Song. He's the author of the best-selling book, Touched by the Music. And today he is going to walk us through how I designed my tomorrow years ago, and it happened. Welcome, Dave. Thank you so much for being today with me.
Diana, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
I am honored to have you. And I know that you have a lot of experience, that you went through many things in your life, and I'm looking forward to learning from you. And I would like to ask you the very first question, if you can tell us more about your story and how you ended up here and on stage writing those songs.
Well, I was born and raised in East Tennessee in the United States, and a little town in the mountains called Irwin, E-R-W-I-N. And I was fortunate to be born into a family that was very musical. My mother and my father both played the piano, and my grandmother Combs, my father's mother, she also was very musical. She played an old instrument, which I have her instrument actually that I inherited from her when she passed away. This is her autoharp. I remember going to her little house in Virginia, and she would have me tune it up, and I would tune it up for her, and then she would sit down and she would start playing it and singing Amazing Grace. So anyway, that was my earliest memories involve music with my family, with our church and so forth, whether it was choir singing or piano and organ duets in church or whatever. And I took piano lessons early in my life, so I learned how to at least read the music. And then I pretty much taught myself how to play the piano later on by just simply practicing. Take the hymn book, and I practiced till I could play every hymn in the book. So music has been a big part of my life, and my career, though, was not in music initially. My initial career was in technology. I have a math degree, a physics minor, and I have my MBA from Wake Forest University here in North Carolina. So I'm a business person, but I'm analytical oriented in the technology field. But music was still always a part of my life in the evenings and on weekends and in church and everything like that. And then in 1981, when I was 33 years old, I wrote my first song. But I really didn't know that I had written my first song. I just sat down at the piano, and the musicians in your audience that are composers or whatever will I think understand this, that I didn't really write the song. I sat down and I played my first song that I had composed, which later became known as Rachel's Song. Rachel was a little baby girl that Linda, my wife, and I were asked to be her godparents. I played Rachel's Song at her christening service, and after playing it there, I said, from now on, we're going to call this song Rachel's Song in her honor. So that's how it got its name, but it was written in 1981. It got its name in 1983, and I happened to be fortunate to be traveling with Western Electric, AT&T, the company I work for, and in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, if you've ever been to Nashville, Tennessee, you know it's Music City, USA. Studios all over the place. And my wife said, well, while you're there in town working, why don't you find a studio and a musician, and let's get a professional recording demo made of Rachel's Song. Just something that really sound great. Something we could enjoy and the family of Rachel could enjoy. Okay. So I make a long story short, I found a studio and a musician. The musician's name is Gary Prim. So when you do a Google search or a search for me and my music, you probably want to put Rachel's Song Gary Prim as the search, because he's the artist on the recording. I wrote it, but Gary is the arranger and performer. So anyway, Gary Prim recorded Rachel's Song for me in the studio as a demo. And when you go to my website, which is simply combsmusic.com, C-O-M-B-S music.com, right in the middle on that first page where you're going, on the left you'll see my book, and on the right you'll see my CD of Rachel's song. But in the middle, where my face is here, you'll see a link to play Rachel's song. Well, when you click on that, you're going to hear that original demo recording made for me by Gary Prim. Hasn't been remastered or anything. That's exactly what I heard in the studio that day. And by the way, I remember it to the minute. It was August the 22nd, 1986 at 6 p.m. at this little studio. And it's one of those things where it's so important in my life. I'll never forget where I was when that happened. So I hope that your listeners will tune into that after we're finished. Now, don't do it right now. Don't leave and go look at it now. Do it later. But listen to Rachel's song, and I hope that your listeners will be as blessed by it as everybody else has been since then. Because since that recording in 1986, I have, as you said, I've written over 120 songs, 14 albums of music, and it's been played all over the world, many millions of times, actually. And some of your audience will say, oh, yeah, I even have a copy of my own CD of Rachel's song, because it's been around for nearly 40 years. But that little song, it changed my life. It sure, you're talking about designing your tomorrow. I wish I could say that I was smart enough to have sat down in 1970 something or other and designed that, oh, here's what the rest of my life is going to look like. I had no clue. I did not really totally. Now, I didn't design it. Now, maybe somebody else, higher up, designed it for me.
Yes.
But that's my designing tomorrow. Was Rachel's song started with that, and it just took on a life of its own, and it's still taking on a life of its own, and blessing and adding peace and happiness to people all around the world, because it's instrumental. It doesn't matter whether you're in Germany like you are, or I'm in North Carolina in the United States, or you could be in France or England or in the Far East. Doesn't matter. It's instrumental, so it's a piano piece primarily. People all over the world in any language can enjoy Rachel's song.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing that with us. And I'm going to make it easier for the audience. I'm going to add the link once we close this interview so that they can actually enjoy it. Click just directly on the link and go directly to your song. I will do the same. I will also listen to it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And you mentioned something about designing tomorrow, which for me is really the passion. And I know that for a long time, I was kind of obsessed. How can I make my life better? What can I achieve? How should my life look like financially, emotionally, career, all of this? And I realized that I started to really get in control, meaning that I was trying and I was obsessed to really controlling all the areas of my life. Needless to say, nothing worked. Absolutely nothing worked as I was planning for it. And you mentioned something that really, I would say, blew me apart, in the sense that you didn't plan for it. You didn't prepare for it. It just came as an inspiration, and then you lived it. And I know that many times we are maybe closed to whatever is coming towards us because we have a certain path. No, I want to go there. I don't want to listen to anything else. What would you advise the audience to do in this case?
I would advise them to do just exactly what I believe you have done and what I have done, and that is to not put yourself in a little box of limits and boundaries that have maybe been put there for you by people around you, whether it's been your teachers, your family, or whatever, but to be open. And when opportunities or things come along, be open to explore them. And if you see something that has some, I would call it a special energy to it, that kind of speaks to you and says, this is special. It's a kind of an aha moment when you discover something you're good at that you didn't realize you were, or whether it's something you've created, like I did with creating Rachel's song, that I found out was really a very special song. But you don't just put it in a box somewhere and not do anything with it. The main thing is to take some action. You have to act upon things, and then your life can become, you can design, or at least be a part of the designing of your tomorrow by taking action and, teach yourself, be a constant learner, get really good books. Here's a book by my really good friend, Jack Canfield, who, by the way, wrote the foreword to my book. But this little book he wrote, and it's not a little book, it's like a PhD in business, but it's called The Success Principles. Oh, there's tons of good information in here about how you can design your tomorrow. But if you follow certain good psychological business principles and principles for life, and so you just need to take action and not be content to just sit there and think about things all the time. You need to get out of your shell and take some action.
I love that. Thank you so much, Dave. I would like to ask you, how does your life look like today? Because I would say you are not the typical speaker that I am having in these shows. And I am really curious about what are you living today? You are a songwriter. You are also playing the instruments. How does it look like for you?
Well, I am fortunate to have had a long career. I'm not ashamed of it, but I will be 75 years old in about less than 2 weeks. And
we have in Romanian a word saying as many as possible. I don't know how to say it in English.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But I am retired from the corporate life. I used to work for AT&T, Western Electric, the telephone company, and in technology. I did that for 22 and a half years. I was able to quit that job in 1992 to do nothing but my music full time from that point forward, except for a period of 5 years when I went back to work temporarily in Washington, D.C. as the Chief Information Officer for the United States Department of Agriculture. I did that because my wife was working in Washington, D.C. for the president as the controller of the state of the controller of the United States in the White House. So she and I kind of temporarily moved ourselves to Washington, D.C. for about 5 years at that point to do those jobs of public service, really, for our country. And other than that, when we retired basically from Washington, D.C., we came back to North Carolina thinking that we were retired and going to be able to pursue full-time everything we wanted to do, travel and still do my music, of course. But by then, I didn't have to worry too much about selling CDs and cassette tapes, the physical music, because as you know, music today is mostly digital. And when you want to hear a song, you most of the time you just say, hey, so-and-so, I'm not going to say it because it'll turn your speakers on, but you tell your music boxes in home to play Rachel's song by Gary Prim. Well, bingo, here it comes on their speakers, just like that. You didn't have to go buy a CD. You didn't have to buy a physical product. So really, my music is really available all around the world now, instantly on, Spotify and Pandora, on YouTube. You can find my music anywhere, anytime, any of my music. So basically, my lifestyle is that I'm not so much in what I used to be in what we would call the fulfillment business of packing up CDs and shipping them to people and that kind of thing. But today it's fulfilled automatically, electronically. So I'm able to enjoy doing things like what we're doing right now. I do 4 or 5 of these podcasts a day.
Wow.
I am busy on video, but I love it because I've never met you before. And so here we are face to face, thousands of miles apart. And yet we're next door, and I feel like I've got a new friend here. So it's so connecting with people. And I hope that the folks that listen to the podcasts that I'm on, including this one, will feel a connection to me and to my music as well. And I love to hear from people, and I'm sure you'll post the link up on there after we're finished. But folks can send me an email at dave@combsmusic.com. I answer them all, and I love to hear from people. So my lifestyle now is one of doing what I really enjoy doing, and that is part of the day is spent with people like you about my music, and then the rest of the time I get to spend time with my wonderful wife, Linda, and we're hoping to do some, now that the pandemic is, knock on some wood, hope it's calmed down enough to where we can do some travel and visiting relatives and friends that we haven't seen in a couple of years.
Awesome, awesome. I am really inspired, Dave. I have to be transparent here. I am inspired by your journey. And in the last years, mostly, I really struggled with the decisions. Like, should I give up the previous 10 years of the corporate world in the finance, in financial institutions? Should I pursue the coaching business? Should I do something else? And you inspire me to understand that I don't necessarily have to choose always. It's not black or white. It
Hmm.
can be both. It can be everything. And this is maybe linked to also what you mentioned at the beginning, to be open to whatever life brings you.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be one path or the other. It can be everything, a bit of everything to actually feel fulfilled. This is how you sound to me, really fulfilled and proud of your journey. Would that be
Oh,
correct?
I think that would be very accurate. Now, I was practically exactly where you are in 1991. I was still working my corporate job at AT&T. My music business had started to really take off. I had really the success was unbelievable. My income from my music business had really overtaken my income from my corporate business, my my job at AT&T. And so it was a really tough decision. I remember sitting in church one morning, Sunday morning before the service actually began, and I had been praying, "Dear Lord, send me a sign that says, what should I do? When do I quit my job? For I've been there 22 and a half years. That's a long career to just walk away from. How will I know when it's right time to quit my job and start doing my entrepreneurial job of my music full time?" Well, it was kind of funny. Just that week, I had gotten a letter from a fan. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. It was a simple one sentence little note to me. And he said, Dear Dave Combs, God put you on this planet to write and produce music. And he signed his name. And
Wow.
I was sitting there in church and I thought, oh my goodness, here I've been waiting for the lightning to come and the thunder to roll or the burning bush, all these big signs to tell me that, okay, Dave, it's time now. Well, God doesn't work that way.
Yes.
God can speak to us through other people. And I realized that man and other letters that I had gotten were telling me what I needed to do. I was just too deaf and blind to see what he was telling me I should do. So I kind of chuckled to myself in church, and I thought, gee, Lord, you probably think I am the dumbest Christian on earth. Here you've sent me thousands of letters to tell me what to do, and I've been asking, well, where's my sign? And so then I really felt comfortable realizing that, number one, I didn't have the income part was already taken care of. That was not a real question mark at that point. But it was the tug of war in my mind of when do you leave a really good paying job with a very fine corporation. And other people in the world, I'm sure struggle with that same kind of thing. But you have to be open to the signs around you, and if things are going well and people are encouraging you and saying that this is going to succeed, and the numbers are also there and on an upward swing that looks like it's going to work, maybe it is time for you to consider leaving that corporate world, the salaried job behind, and go be an entrepreneur.
Thank you so much, Dave. I am truly inspired by you. And I love talking to you. I could stay here the whole day. We don't have the whole time in the world. I would like to ask you if you think there is anything important that our audience should know before we are closing today. Any tips from your life, from your experience, from your journey?
Well, I think we've talked a lot about it, and those tips of taking action and being open to ideas and pursuing your dreams, and don't always expect everything's going to work out perfectly. I've tried different things other than my music business that didn't work out, but that's no big deal. You always learn something from those. They're not failures. They're just, in the United States, when Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, he found 999 ways it would not work. It took him 1,000 tries to find tungsten as the right element to put in a light bulb. So don't be discouraged by the things that don't work. all they are is lessons along life's way to teach you what doesn't work and guide you for finally what will work. So don't be discouraged. Keep at it. Take action, and always smile and be at peace and be happy. Try to stay as happy as you can. And I know in today's world, for lots of folks, that's not an easy task. There's a lot of turmoil going on around the world, and we need to pray for those folks. But keep a positive attitude and keep pursuing your dream. And when things come along, smile and say, thank you, Lord, for this opportunity, and go with it and see where it'll take you. And you just made land in a place that is just fantastic.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Dave. I would like to ask you something that I don't know if you are prepared for. Would you like to play something for us or to sing something for us?
Well, I am not prepared. This piano behind me is a green screen. Now, I do have this real piano upstairs in my family room, but if you would like to play a little bit of Rachel's song,
yes,
you could do that. In fact, you and I told you a minute ago about a person who sounds just exactly like you, her accent, and she's a dear friend of mine. Her name is Cornelia Lamley Orth. She is the conductor of the Symphony of the Mountains in East Tennessee. And that symphony played Rachel's song. I have a symphonic arrangement of Rachel's song, and she played it. And I don't know whether I can share my screen and do that or not, but you want to try that?
Yes, that
All right.
would be lovely. I am looking at the same time to see if I can find it.
Okay. If you can find it, it's on my Combs Music YouTube channel. And then go onto my videos, and or I can share mine. Here it is on mine. If you want to, I'll just play it.
Yes.
Play it here.
Great.
All right. Here it is, and here is Cornelia introducing me. Let me get back to where she's introducing me here. Right here. All right. Here we go.
The next piece is by another composer from Appalachia, and also this composer is here with us tonight. It's Mr. Dave Combs. He wrote this piece in honor of his godchild Rachel. It's a very touching tune that speaks to our Appalachian souls. Thank you, Dave, for being here.
my God.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for giving us this beautiful music.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was amazing, Dave.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
What?
Oh my God. Oh my God. I was not expecting that. I am, the feeling I had is that I connected to my heart. I connected to my inner self. And I believe there is nothing more important than this in life. If we can get to that place, I believe we have a big win in life. And this is what your song gave me. And I am sure this is what gives to many, many people around the world. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, Diana, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to play that. That is such a special, it brings tears to my eyes because I was sitting right next to my mother when that was performed. I had brought her to the concert. She was sitting in a wheelchair right next to me. She was 95 years old. And that was the first time that my mother had ever heard my music performed by other people other than just me. And she passed away a couple of years later. So that being there with my mother, hearing that, it still kind of chokes me up a little bit this morning. So thank you for allowing me to play that.
I love that. Thank you so much for being today with me. I fully enjoyed it. I am honored to have you here and I am grateful for your time.
Well, I am grateful to be your guest and it's been my pleasure and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much.